IBM. It is an overcast day here in Paris, and out on Court Central, underway, the #1 men's seed, Pete Sampras, playing fellow American Todd Martin. Sampras winning the first set in 40 minutes, 6-4, and on serve, with Martin serving 2-3 in the second set. Bill McAtee, John McEnroe, good to have you with us.
Well, Bill, it's good to see you again. It's been about 6 months since we've been in the booth together, U.S. Open, which may have made some people happy, but that's another story. You've been doing all that golf and all that exciting stuff, but now you're getting the real stuff, okay?
On the clay of Roland Garros, Martin serving 40-30. Martin had 3 break points in the first game of the first set. Sampras held, but then Martin broke for 2-1. Sampras broke back for 3-all, and then broke to take the first set 6-4.
Well, these are two players who can play on this surface but aren't really that comfortable on it. Sampras has a 13-2 lifetime record over Martin. Knows he's the better athlete, and he's going to try to utilize that his athleticism to defeat Martin, who's a little sluggish around the court but is a great striker of the ball. And believe it or not, about a month ago won Barcelona on red clay, beating guys like Beresategi among others. So
Thomas Muster, Carlos Costa.
Those are 2 incredible wins for Martin. Those unforced errors, Bill, creeping into the game a little bit too much. Now a chance for Sampras to go up a break in the second seed, tied at 28. Huge guy for tennis standards, 6'6". That's only the average for a basketball player. 33 in the world. Solid year this year for him. It's good to see him back 100% healthy.
The Barcelona final was his first since 1996. Struggled with injuries last year.
Well, the idea for Sampras is quite simple. Get a high percentage of first serves in so he can win his service game easily, and then just get Martin on the run. Martin is double the player when he has time, he can set up for a shot. At a 6-6, Martin. Wrong with that. You'll see an occasional serve and volley, but like a lot of players today, likes to hurt you off the return. Standing right around the baseline, try to angle his serve, which he does extremely well, utilizing that height, and then get a guy like Sampras in trouble.
I
think the crowd, Bill's a little insulted. We have 2 Americans playing here. Where are the clay quarters?
Now Martin survives the break scare for 3-all. The last match at Roland Garros that Todd Martin played was here 2 years ago against Pete Sampras, and they had a remarkable 5-setter that Sampras won 6-2 in the 5th.
Crowd got into this when Sampras came back in the first down that early break, but other than that, trying to figure out what the heck is going on here right now. No one has really gotten much momentum. These guys have known each other a long time, and in a lot of ways, I think Sampras is happy that he's playing Martin. Play a guy who's not a little guy from Spain or somewhere else in Europe. He's 27 now, still ranked #1. He's going on his 6th year at #1. How's that for a volley? And believe it or not, Pete has won a tournament on clay about a month ago in the States, but he's not had a particularly good year for his standards so far.
One in Philadelphia and then on the clay in Atlanta. One other final this year, that was in San Jose. Lost to Andre Agassi in straight sets.
Well, He toyed with Todd there, but he forgot to finish the icing on the cake. But at 40 love, he's still in very strong position to hold serve. He's utilized that serve, kick it out wide to Martin. Martin has ripped a couple winners up the line. But you can see when Todd has to move, Sampras is going to be in very good shape. Kicks off the line. Sampras holds the 4-3.
So on serve, second set after Pete Sampras takes the first set, and we're going to check the mark. Rudy Berger will come down. And
yeah, that ball was skidded off the line. When a ball drops about 1.5 feet and off the return, you know it's skidded off the line. Todd's still not convinced, however. Rudy Berger saying, let's switch sides so we can get on camera here.
Well, we welcome all of you to Paris. Bill McAtee, John McEnroe, as you said, good to be together once again as we start the French Open, which is a tournament that always seems to surprise us. I mean, Marcelo Rios comes in. A lot of people expect this to be Rios' first Grand Slam, but the favorite is not really an enviable position to be in, is it?
Well, I think that actually Rios actually helped him that he was hurt. He had a bit of a rest. Normally you see all these guys from Spain or the other clay court players, they come in, they're full of confidence, except they played so many matches, they're exhausted by the French. Rios different. Hurt himself in Davis Cup. Took about 3 or 4 weeks off. Is antsy to come back. Took an injection into that arm to try to dull the pain, and now has come back and won Rome in the tournament in Austria last week and is clearly the favorite, which I think for a guy like Sampras is happy about. Take a little pressure off him, throw it on the little Chilean.
So you're suggesting Rios likes that role? He likes the center stage, the limelight?
I think he likes it more than people realize. I think he's been misunderstood. He's a bit of pain in the you-know-what, but then again, we know some other people that were known to be that way on occasion.
Well, what about
and
Pete
I'm not
Sampras?
speaking of myself, Bill. No, you're rather difficult behind the scenes here, you would say. Okay.
Pete Sampras, is this a good match for him?
I think this is a good. I think it's obviously a tough match, and he's lost at top before. I like this match for him, and I think that Sampras, if he's going to do it, he better start doing it now. I mean, he's running out of time. Let's face it. I think he's a guy that's this good. Has clearly got a shot at it. Now, if he wants to get by the bums like Connors and myself, who never won the French, he's got to step up to the plate and do it. And I can sit and talk about it. If he hits shots like that, he's well on his way.
Now, last year, Pete made it to the 3rd round and lost to Magnus Norman. His best result, of course, was 2 years ago. Semifinalist for the first time, lost to the eventual champion, Yevgeny Kafelnikov.
And also, now an overcast. It's a very cool day. It's dropped 20 degrees since I arrived on the premises. So clearly fitness. So we see Sampras. This is going to be an easy put away. Him, Todd Martin having to guess early. Fitness is not going to be a problem. And for the players, they'd much prefer to have some cool weather, although they don't want it too cool. This is bordering on a little chilly. Court in the locker room. I'm frozen, John. I'm frozen. My body's frozen. Come on! Todd not happy with that call. They're going to take a look on clay. The only service they're going to take a look. Here comes you-know-who, Rudy Berger again. You know what Peter told me? He told me that he doesn't have the same body temperature as other human beings.
Oh, is that what he mentioned?
So he froze. He's frozen. But he'll be ready for the hard court season. Apparently, call stands. Not good news for Todd Martin. Love 40 now.
So 3 chances for Sampras to go up 5-3 and serve for a 2-sets lead over Todd Martin.
It's critical here. He holds serve. When he gets down 2 sets, he can kiss this one goodbye. Sampras doesn't seem to be in full gear yet he's up a set 4-3, as you pointed out, and looking to, this is where he's going to really press a little bit to try to sneak out this break. That's a great shot.
So Sampras up 5-3 after winning the first set 6-4.
That was a deliberately short return. Martin did well with that approach, but Sampras, what can you say? Just picture perfect right here. Got down nice and low. if you want to complain, he might hit it a little bit falling backwards, because that was Martin's solid approach. But we've seen that hundreds, if not thousands of times now with these players, hitting off the back foot, but have the power to hit winners. Oh, if we only had those wood rackets, Bill. I'm going to promise you say wood rackets one time every telecast these 2 weeks. Who said Americans can't be involved in long rallies? Longest one of the match there. Pete finally hitting the top of the net. Now, if you're going to go down the line, you got about 6 inches higher than the middle of the net. So, got to play it a little safe.
Do you agree with the assessment that if Pete's going to make a run here in Paris, he's just going to have to take a lot of chances and not try to hit from the backcourt?
No, I don't agree with that. It depends on who you're playing. Depends on a lot of things, but I don't think that's necessarily what he has to do. He's clearly not going to do that because he's not comfortable doing that. He can hit off the ground. You know what he's got to do a little bit better is what Rios has learned to do, which is to place the ball better. He hasn't gone for the huge serves. Not that Rios serves anywhere in the same league as Sampras, but he's, instead of getting 40% in like Chang does, and it's not scaring a whole lot of people, he's getting a higher 50, 60, even up to 65, taking something off it, and then hurting the opponent off the return. Now, Sampras could do the same thing. He looked at hook forehand.
Came at a good time for Pete and a hole at love 30, serving for the second set.
This is the type of shot that everyone in tennis, beginners to pros alike, should practice more often. It's a tricky little shot. Pete handled it well there. You end up practicing on the baseline, then you go to net, hit some volleys, then you hit a few serves. You forget about the approaches. Big serve gets him to 30 all. That was a 200-kilometer serve, which in miles per hour, we may even get that before the end of the telecast.
124.
Yes. Mere bag of shells, as Ralph Cramden used to say. Todd wearing that big brace still for precautionary reasons for that elbow that's given all types of problems the last few years. A lot of guys in here not 100%. It's rare. I've been in the locker room for a few hours. I don't think I heard a guy say he felt that good. You know. Although Brett Steven did, but unfortunately he's already out of the event.
And playing on this surface is not going to make those ailments any better as the tournament goes on.
That won't make them better either, doubling on set point.
Third double fault.
There's Paul Annacone, been with Pete for the last couple years, done a great job. He said, yeah, I want Pete to do well, but I've been in Europe a long time already. This is where the true test of a coach comes in. Hasn't seen his kids a couple weeks. He knows this is a 2 more weeks. Got Wimbledon coming up. That's a sign of a good coach. He's hanging in there.
Avantage Sampras.
Lucky to get his wife to come over for a couple days. Keep him from getting too lonely. Pete with set point number 2.
Todd got there, but it was long. 6-4, 6-3. And as we go to commercial, here's a look at some of the scores from around the grounds on day 1 of the 1998 French Open.
1998 French Open on USA is brought to you in part by Motrin IB, prescription proven power. By Alliance Capital. Get outstanding research, investment expertise, and global strength at Alliance Capital, because later is sooner than you think. And by IBM. For up-to-the-minute scores and stats, visit www.rolandgarros.org and IBM eBusiness.
Back at Stade Roland Garros, Pete Sampras and Todd Martin. Sampras up 2 sets, 6-4 and 6-3. And a look at some of the frustration felt by Todd Martin as he lost that second set to Sampras. Been playing for just about an hour and 20 minutes here at Court Central. As John McEnroe mentioned, it's a very comfortable day, actually a little on the chilly side. Some rain in the forecast, but so far, play has been uninterrupted. And meanwhile, across the way, over at Court Suzanne-Lenglen, Bjorkman and Muster. And interestingly enough, Jonas Bjorkman is the number 7 seed, John, and Thomas Muster, who's such a fine clay court record, comes in unseeded.
He's a hard court player now. Didn't you know that, Muster? He stinks on clay. He's actually improved from last year. He's up to 7-5 this year on clay coming into this tournament, which is an improvement over last year. But talk about a guy who's in a tailspin. Take a look at this guy right now, Jonas Bjorkman. He has really been struggling since he reached, I believe, either 3 or 4 in the world at the end of last year. The pressure has hit Jonas Bjorkman, not to mention the amount of matches, fatigue, and effort that he put into his fantastic year in 1997. Thomas Muster already up a set and a break at 1-love second set. Pete Sampras, by the way, has already broken first game of third set on center court, up 1-love.
Even though Muster is unseeded, comes in ranked number 23 in the world, now 30 years old. Even though he's unseeded, John, he has to be considered really dangerous.
Even though he was unseeded, Bjorkman was bumming when he saw who played first round, I'll tell you. He's not high in confidence, and to see this guy who wants to show he can win one more big one on the dirt, not a happy sight for the Swede. He's just not playing with any confidence at this point. He's never been as comfortable on clay. It's always been his worst surface. And not the guy he wanted to run into. There's plenty of unseeded guys. There's guys by the name of Andre Agassi, among others, not seeded, dangerous floaters out there.
First time since 1992 that Muster has been unseeded here at Roland Garros. Of course, the 95 champion.
Well, here's where Bjorkman went off. Australian Open quarterfinals, 2-1 up against Korda, who went on to win it. Dropped the last 2 sets, and since then has been struggling to win matches. As a matter of fact, not to bum out Bjorkman fans further, he ended the year number 4. Since then, he's 12-13. He's dropped to number 7 and is heading south. He worked hard to finally win a point. The problem was the 40-love when he won that point. So Muster quickly hits another serve, is up 2-love second set. Sampras, by the way, up 2-love as well, cruising to what appears to be an easy first-round victory over the big American Todd Martin. Last year, Bjorkman was 71-26. Shows he played a lot of tournaments, not to mention doubles, Davis Cup, Nations Cup, these type of events. He's a little tennis out. Looks like he's wearing an ankle brace. He's now 26, a late bloomer, 6-footer. Saving some money in Monte Carlo. Just pointing out that mediocre results in '98. It's not bad though. 12-13, you got 400 grand.
After 3
Sounds
titles.
like a baseball utility player.
After 3 titles in '97, Auckland, Indianapolis, and Stockholm.
Well, he better start putting some more on the ball soon, because Mooster is having his way. And he'll eat you alive. He hit those short balls with no pace. Those are flat balls. I mean, Mooster can run around that backhand all day. That's what he needs to do, clearly. Get some serves and win some easy points. And he can take some more chances against Mooster when he serves.
Round of 16 2 years ago. That's his best result in 4 previous trips to Roland Garros. Was made a lot of noise at the U.S. Open last year. Got a spot in the semifinals.
Well, there's his bread and butter. Get a first serve in. He's got a beautiful two-handed back, and he takes nice and early with virtually no backswing. Approach the net, put away an easy volley.
So
Bjorkman holds, but is still down a set to Thomas Mooster. In the Bois de Boulogne on the southwestern edge of Paris, we're at Stade Roland Garros. And look across this magnificent facility. We've spent a lot of time already today talking about the men's side here at the French Open. And for a look at the women's draw, let's check in with Barry McKay and Tracy Austin.
Tracy and I are in the Place Mousquetaire, certainly one of the busiest places here on the complex. And Tracy, before we talk about women's tennis, congratulations on your newest baby, Brandon.
Thanks, Barry. Yeah, Brandon's 7 weeks old today, and luckily his older brother Dylan, who's 2, is not jealous of him at all. He hasn't poked him in the eye or hit him in the ear. He's very excited about the new addition to the family.
All right, the women's draw, Steffi Graf not here, and Monica Seles. What about Monica? Does she have a chance?
I think she does have a chance. Her fitness is in question, but the biggest story with Monica Seles is that her father passed away about 11 days ago, and he's been her coach her whole tennis career, also her best friend. So I think it's very gutsy for Monica Seles to show up at the French, especially because she hasn't had too many days of practice.
The entire tennis world talking about the teen queens, Martina Hingis, the Williams sisters, Serena and Venus, and who can forget Kornikova? What about these 4? They are attractive.
Unbelievable, Barry. I tell you, I've never seen a group of youngsters that have come up that are so good and come up at the same time. You have Hingis, who's #1 in the world, already proven herself. You have Venus Williams, who's #7 in the world, who's playing some spectacular tennis right now. She actually could win the French. You have Serena Williams, who's only played a handful of tournaments, but she's beaten so many top players. She's a very dangerous player. You have Kornikova, who's on the rise, going up the rankings very, very quickly. Very talented player, can do anything on the court. And you have Mariana Lucic, who's actually not here, but she's the 5th one of the teen queens.
All right, we've said in years past this is an intriguing tournament for the women. This year, Bill, we mean it. Back to you.
All right, Barry and Tracy, thank you very much. There's the story on court. Suzanne Lenglen, Thomas Mooster, 6-3 and up 3-1. Bjorkman now serving here in the second set. And a year ago, Jonas Bjorkman lost to Gustavo Kuerten in the second round after Kuerten's surprising championship.
I wonder if he's nervous at all as he approaches defending his title. Hasn't won a tournament since.
And had not won one prior to last year's title.
Well, he certainly can't afford to miss shots like that if he wants any chance of beating the Austrian. That's perhaps, we look now, Pete up 2 breaks, cruising to a straight set win over Todd Martin.
And we'll be getting you back for the conclusion of that match in just a bit.
Other than that two-handed backhand of Bjorkman, his volley is clearly his next best asset. He better not make any more easy mistakes. Well, speaking of things he shouldn't be doing, I think is trading ground strokes with Musa from the baseline. A total miss hit there. He's got to guess. Musa sees him go, and he'll make that 100 out of 100 times. Well, that was a strange decision by Musa. There's at least a rule when I grew up. If you have a ball at the service line that's above the net, you crush it. You either go at your opponent. You got both sides to pick from. You see Tomas has plenty of time. Bjorkman just praying, faking, and trying to throw him off, and it succeeded. Musa, strangely enough, doesn't hit the topspin lob from the service line over his head.
Sails long. John, biggest difference between Mooster now and Mooster in his prime, 95,
well, his
96?
desire, believe it or not, has dropped some, and physically he's got to be slowing down just a touch. His confidence isn't the same. He's not as patient as he was, which is one of the reasons why he does better on hard courts. He's trying to flatten out his strokes, hit with more pace.
So Bjorkman holds. 6-3 and 3-2.
Well, we better get over to that Sampras match soon.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you, Greg.
Sampras up now 4. Love.
We had about 4 minutes, so, you know.
Been playing for an hour and 35 minutes. It has been basically all Pete Sampras.
Remember Todd, not that long, it was up 3-1. Pete was the one his head was hanging just a touch, and now looking forward to a day's rest tomorrow after finishing off his fellow American.
Sampras has won 7 consecutive games now.
Well, unfortunately, what appeared to be on paper, at least, is possibly the most interesting first encounter is turning out to be a dud here.
Well, people forget that Todd Martin actually grew up playing on clay, and he really didn't develop as a serve and volley player until college.
Well, he was also 6'1" or so, probably until he went there. It was just a factor. No, he's not going to miss this one.
You only get one of those.
You may not believe this, Bill, but when I grew up, I was actually considered a clay court.
Is that right?
So you can show you how things change. I was one of those pushers, you know, just stand back and drive your opponent crazy. That's another way of driving him crazy. With Sampras full of confidence now, steps in, actually just stayed level, didn't take a step back, moved to the side, knows Martin doesn't move that well, and it's tougher to move on clay anyway for anybody. And when you're up 2 sets and 2 breaks, you can take a few chances. I see Pete do that all the time, which is very smart. Even though he lost a point, he's up 2 sets, couple breaks, he's about ready to win the match, but he does something he hasn't done, try to chip charge off the second serve, just in case he needs to do that down the road a little bit, which I assume he's going to have to do. He's going to try to pull off this amazing feat and win the French Open. Pete's got a pretty good looking draw as we see Rudy once again taking a look at the mark. He's got Mantilla as his first seed. Certainly is no slouch on the dirt. Carol Kuchera has gone down already in the first round with another blister problem, which he had a couple weeks ago. And the other seed would be Bjorkman, who's looking in big trouble, or Thomas Muster. So there's some hurdles, but there's some tougher sections of the draw elsewhere.
Martin.
So for the first time here in the third set, Todd Martin holds, but he's still down 2 sets and 4-1. Well, for up-to-the-minute stats and scores throughout the French Open, check out the official website of Roland Garros, www.rolandgarros.com. Powered, of course, by IBM.
Well, that may have been the second longest point of the match there. Martin this time coming out ahead. Sampras a little bit late and wide on that forehand.
So Sampras serving up 2 sets, 4-1 in the third and 15 all.
Both players taking a little bit extra time. You saw Todd Martin with that long reach. He can get to a lot of balls just sticking that arm out. Not that serve, though.
11th ace.
That's the serve that Rios is, particularly in the ad court, not putting as much pace on it, placing it well. Todd Martin is also excellent at that. That's another shot that he's utilized effectively, is that short ball. Slice it short, force Martin to hit up, and then come in, go for the pass. Very good idea, particularly against the clay court players who don't particularly like, they have some allergies getting close to the net.
Not comfortable.
They shake hands well, you know.
So 30 all.
That's a waste of a beautiful approach. Excuse me, beautiful return of serve, and then just bricking that approach. That's some name there, huh? No, that's unreturnable there. I don't know. Andre the Giant wouldn't have had that.
Ace number 12. And put Sampras a game away.
Now Pete might be thinking, you know, this is almost a little bit too easy. I was expecting more of a battle here. Martin Dom or Ramon Delgado from Paraguay will be Pete's next opponent, the winner of that match.
Now, Pete's earliest exit here at Roland Garros was 3 years ago in the first round, upset by Gilbert Schaller. Looks like that will not be duplicated.
Uwe Gilbert Schaller.
I'm not sure.
See what happens if that ball hits the line, though. It really skids. Wicked shot to deal with. I thought that was only a tennis court where I practiced that I had that problem, but apparently even at the greatest clay court tournament in the world, the lines are slick.
Kansas.
15 all. This surface different than the green clay that we see in the States?
I find it actually a little bit better to move on. I'm not quite sure why. It's more powdery. There's more gravel. They have more of a gravelly red clay court surface in Germany because it rains every hour there. Now, this has a tendency when it dries to get dusty and quicken up. So far, the players I've talked to in the locker room feel that the court's playing slower. The balls are heavier, and they're not too thrilled about it, particularly Rios, who's having elbow problems. Nice touch there by the big man.
Just clipped the line. So 30-15.
Well, they certainly take a lot of pride, the workers here at Roland Garros and a lot of the other tournaments, Monte Carlo, etc., about making sure the court's in good condition. And you can see how quickly things can change. There they are, ready to run out there. Put some water on if necessary, although human nature has a way of doing that during the French Open. Expect some downpours.
Mother Nature.
Is it? Oh, Mother Nature. Yeah, that's thanks, Bill.
Sampras members Sanchez à deux.
For something.
5-2.
15.
Pete Sampras trying to serve out his match against Todd Martin. Sampras easily in the first 2 sets and here in the third. 5-2 and 15 love. 3 points away.
Hit 3-4 great shots, missed the easy one.
15.
He's pulling an Agassi and a Cheng, standing way out to try to pull Martin off the court on the return near the doubles alley. Martin in all kinds of trouble there, but no bend to the knees there. Didn't really get down for that. Wasn't really expecting that. Awkward looking shot, 15 all. That's 2 right in the same spot. And this is a perfect example. Even the best player in the world, you got to practice that shot because that happens more than you think. Particularly if you get tight. You start second guessing, should I volley that? Should I wait on it? Once again, he's trying to pull Martin off the court. Maybe he'll kick one out to his backhand. Does, but it's too wide. Martin desperately trying to hang in here for another couple games. Not with that return. Just flew on him.
30 all.
Tricky conditions now. It's only about probably 60, 65 degrees. Pretty windy out there. You know, whoever's ahead just wants to get this one over with, get in the locker room, get this first match under his belt. 2 points from the second round for Sampras.
Break opportunity for Todd Martin.
It's very simple. The ball skidded off the line. Sampras was just a little late. Wasn't expecting that. Ball came in on him a little too soon. Chance for Todd Martin. Problem is he's down 2 breaks. Even if he breaks here and holds, Pete Sampras will once again serve for the match in about 5 to 10 minutes. But it's a start. That ball dropped too low. You got to make sure you don't drop it too low. Kick it out wide like Pete did there.
That's long, so a few loose points from Sampras, and Todd Martin gets one of the breaks back.
Sampras members Sanchez à deux.
Because he really didn't make Martin do anything. He just said, here's the early gift here. I want to put a little more pressure on myself. It's been too easy so far. So if that's the case, he got his wish.
And you know, given the fatigue factor, that Sampras does not want to be out here any longer than he has to.
I just asked him about a couple of years ago when he was spent against Yevgeny after those tremendous 5-set victories.
Had 3 5-setters.
Todd Martin, one of his victims. Sergi Bruguera. What in God's name has happened to Sergi Bruguera since his getting to the finals here last year? He has pulled a major siesta on us the last year. He's coming into this event, I believe, ranked 23rd in the world, which means if he loses early here, Bill, and I'm talking about Sergi Bruguera, the 2-time winner and 2-time finalist, he's going to drop like a ton of bricks. There's the shot once again. You got to move in more quickly. Martin just hesitated. Sampras has utilized that shot effectively throughout this match. Carlos Moya with a win. Jim Courier, remember that guy?
Says he's got a renewed love for the game of tennis and has worked awfully hard over the last few months to try to get himself back into shape.
Should be he has a renewed love for the game, and he's not working as hard. You know, the guy trained like a maniac. Hopefully he's taking it easy a little bit so he can have some energy by the time he gets to the court. And he's actually got a nice looking draw too.
He looked very good a few weeks ago against Michael Chang in their final.
That was a good
Orlando.
final. All-American final in the States. Unfortunately, the guys over here are saying, okay, now come over where the big boys are. Jim Courier's in the bottom half of the bottom part of the top half, which means he's in the Greg Rusedski area, who's already on his way back to London or Canada, wherever he's from. Quick first-round loss to Johan van Herk of Belgium.
Nice passing shot by Sampras.
Front.
40-30.
That'll work. See, a lot of clay court players like the ball to start coming down to, and that's why you see him about 20 feet beyond the baseline. Not Sampras. Oh, beautiful there. You've got to be pretty strong with your wrist and time it well, because his rackets are strung extremely tight, yet he was able to guide that beautifully up the line. Now looking to break Martin for the victory. Back to deuce. Sure doesn't have a lot on that serve. And he's proven over the years you don't need a lot, although that had a... You're going to get a little more power if you go straight up the middle. So if you want to impress people, just serve hard right up the middle. He just didn't get down for that. That's exactly what you want to do, what Pete did. Make a guy 6'6" bend, and he's got his first match point.
These two have such a great history together. This the 16th meeting. The first match was a 5-setter at the U.S. Open in '92, which Pete won 6-4.
Oh, watch out.
Égalité.
He wanted to go for the big hurrah on that last point, hit the forehand winner, and instead, did he take that in the head, or was that the post?
I think it was off the post.
That's bad luck. I mean, it's good luck for them.
Again, you're out of the sportsmanship running early.
That's incredible. See, I still think we should play lets. Forget about the let court. Just play all lets. You talk about adding an element of excitement. Nope, pulled that one. Showing a little tension here, Bill. Trying to put this one away. Good news for him, as I said, he was up 2 breaks, and he's going to come onto this side, which is a little bit with the wind, so he'll have a little edge there, particularly with that huge serve. And Martin wants to make him at least serve it out.
Tips in.
Égalité.
Here's that result I was talking about. Quick exit for Rusedski. Kuchera, blister problems. Poor result. Todd Woodbridge avenging his Australian Open defeat to Carol Kuchera. You don't hit any better than that.
Avantage Sampras.
So match point number 2 for Pete Sampras.
Don't guide the ball if you're volleying against Sampras. Rips the backhand winner for his second match point. In case you're wondering, Thomas Muster has taken the second set. So now 6-3, 6-3. We'll get back to that shortly.
strong.
An hour, 56 minutes. 6-4, 6-3, and 6-3 in the third. So Pete Sampras' quest for the only Grand Slam title to elude him begins on a successful note here in 1998, and he's through to the second round.
Well, Delgado's a promising Paraguayan. Sargsyan gets the default from Henman. Medvedev Gaudenzi in a 5-set extravaganza right now. Sanguinetti, the Italian. Santoro destroyed Sampras in Monte Carlo. He's had some great results. Look for him to maybe sneak in a couple wins. And there's the seed that we're going to wait and see if he can make it to the 16s, Felix Mantilla.
So a few autographs for the world #1, Pete Sampras, and we'll return with more from Roland Garros on USA after these messages.